I have the Commissioner for Economic Planning and Budget, Mr. Ben Akagweze, in the Ministry of Finance, Mrs. Williams, and for him also to introduce his team. Thank you very much, sir.
Can I start? Your Excellency, the Governor of Lagos State, Yobe North, the Chairman of the Ad hoc Committee. Your Excellency, once again, let me thank you on behalf of this committee for all the courtesies extended to us since our arrival in Lagos State. Let me also take this opportunity on behalf of members of this committee to congratulate you, even though it's a little belated, but it's better late than never, for your election into the office of the Governor of Lagos State. And I think I also need to congratulate the people of Lagos State for having a governor of your caliber and commitment. You have introduced elements of good governance that is worthy of emulation by each and everybody in this country. Lagos has witnessed tremendous positive changes during your years and a serious improvement over what had happened before. Sir, the Senate on the 19th of July, after debating the motion on the collapse of privatized public enterprises, set up this committee. And the committee has very clear mandate. We are supposed to investigate the activities of the Bureau for Public Enterprises on the privatization exercise carried out from 1999 to 2011, that is up to date. The Senate is worried that after over a decade of the privatization exercise by the BPE, the privatized public enterprises appear not to be performing. The majority of them, some accounts give up to 80%, have collapsed. And this is a source of worry because government had to divest its interest in those PEs because of the inefficiency that characterized the management of those public enterprises, and because government wanted to get some more funds released from subsidizing inefficiency for better application in the areas of critical infrastructure for the country. But over 10 years down the line, most of them have not shown improved efficiency in management. They have not shown improved productivity or even the opportunities that we thought we could get of employment for our teeming youth particularly. So we are supposed to really find out why this has happened. We held a one-week public hearing in Abuja where we gave all the enterprises that were privatized the management, the core investors, particularly the Bureau of Public Enterprise, and indeed the larger society of Nigerians to appear before the committee and make presentations on whatever they thought would be necessary to be done to make things work better. But we felt that we also need to go around to see firsthand how some of these public enterprises are performing. And Lagos State, sir, as you know, hosts more public enterprises that were privatized than any other state in the country. Yesterday, we visited the ports, the Apapa port and the Tinkan Island, and we also took time to go to Niger Delta. We have seen some improvements in our ports. In fact, the ports that have been concessioned can be said to be a success story to some extent, much more than most of the sectors that have been privatized. Today, we have just visited the Volkswagen of Nigeria and the Lagos International Trade Fair Complex. We are here, sir, to pay you a courtesy visit to also tell you that you have done well to help those enterprises in one way or the other. But we also urge you, sir, to continue to partner with the federal government to ensure that these public enterprises that are privatized work for us. That is to say that they provide services, but they also provide employment opportunities for our teeming population. With these remarks, I want to once more, on behalf of this committee, thank you very much for all the courtesies and giving us the opportunity to meet you at the shortest notice. Tomorrow, by the grace of God, we'll be leaving for Adamawa State to continue with our visits. Meanwhile, when we conclude this courtesy call, we'll be going to visit the Daily Times of Nigeria. Daily Times, as you know, is one of our iconic newspaper houses, but Daily Times went under, and we hope that something will be done to get it resuscitated and get it on our streets in a much more robust manner than it is today. Thank you very much, sir.
Members of the State Executive Council, let me on your behalf again welcome our very distinguished senators under the leadership and chairmanship of Senator Lawal. Let me start by also thanking you for the thoughtfulness of paying this courtesy visit on me, and especially since you are in an area where I am privileged to exercise jurisdiction as governor of the state. Let me at the outset say that I recognize the Nigerian Senate in a democracy as a very, very powerful institution, an institution that has very significant powers which, if properly directed, can become definitive in formulating policies, making laws that would help prosper this country. And therefore, I do not take lightly at all the exercise that you are undertaking. I believe that it is an exercise that is worth pursuing, but it is one that must also be pursued to its logical conclusions, and whatever recommendations ultimately emanate from your findings must be painstakingly pursued for implementation. Let me say that I associate myself with the concerns that you have genuinely expressed about the performance of those privatized entities. But I do so on the assumption that it is concern expressed for the purpose of ensuring that the Nigerian economy prospers, and that in that sense it is able to grow and provide opportunities for Nigerians and Africans who choose to come and live here. Following from that, distinguished senator, let me say that we must exercise some caution in defining the objective of these investigations. so that our objectives are not misunderstood to the investing local and international community. We must painstakingly, and I want to emphasize that, painstakingly ensure that we do not send an unintended message that discourages investment. I like to start from there. In doing so, I think you have alluded to some of the problems that led us onto privatization as a policy. Now, I have had debates that the exercise has failed. I have had comments without, in my view, demonstrable empiric evidence that it should not have been done. But I think that a distinction must be drawn between non-compliance with rules and non-compliance with procedures by people who had the responsibility to do so, and therefore if any of those are found, clearly they should be sanctioned. But we must separate that from the intrinsic question of why businesses in Nigeria have difficulty in performing optimally. We must ask ourselves, as a government, have we given enough support to those businesses by way of infrastructure, such as power, transportation, and other utilities that they need to perform in an optimal manner. We must also interrogate the current regime of taxes and tariffs, concessions and waivers, how they are used in a purposeful way to support and protect Nigerian businesses. We must review our trade agreements in a way that ensures that the protection of Nigerian businesses must be the priority in signing those kind of treaties. In the course of my tenure here, I have had cause to serve on some committees, and I have been unimpressed, to put it mildly, at some of the agreements that we have signed, even in the sub-region, in a way that does not prosper our economy. Some of what you see here in Lagos, and one can readily allude to enterprises like the Doba Hotel, the Southern Sun Ikoyi Hotel. Those businesses are prospering and running on generator. We must remember that. But they are also surviving because we have taken a conscious role here in providing security, in lighting up their streets, in making the access routes to those businesses functional so that customers can go there. And this is the responsibility that all of us have in whatever state those businesses are. The expansion of the Lagos-Badagry Expressway, which is a federal highway, an international federal highway, was undertaken by us in order to provide support for the strategic businesses like the trade fair. That's the largest place where you have spare parts markets in the whole of the sub-region. But if people can't get there, there won't be business there. So these are some of the things that, as policy makers and policy formulators, we must go back, especially as we prepare to go into preparations for next year's budget. These are the critical issues that we ought to look at. Yes, we must also understand that those entities are institutions. They can't think for themselves. They need people to manage and think for them. We must therefore look at the quality of personnel who are thinking for these organizations. And that takes us back to the quality of education that is available for the purpose of manpower development. We can also talk about the Unipetrol story. And Senator Magoro here knew what it took to transform the whole system there. The national oil, and corn oil, they're doing well too. So I think we should be careful here in coming to conclusion that the exercise has failed. I think we should ask questions. The real question should be whether government, as an enabler of business, has done enough to support private enterprise? I think that is a fundamental question. It will be unfairly judgmental to come to the conclusion that businesses have failed if government has not absorbed and discharged its own responsibility to provide the environment. But let me stop there in order to save some time for you to visit the Daily Times. Again, as you approach Daily Times, the only thing I can say is that we must ask ourselves today, we should probably stop glorifying in the past and come to terms with the realities of today. How many newspaper houses today are doing 20,000 copies a day? Maybe Senator Judu will tell us. That is the reality of the time. If our people are not earning income, how can they patronize enterprises? The performance of those enterprises is the performance of the national economy. And then let us look, Time Magazine, Newsweek, they are beginning to sell their products online. So there are new business challenges created by the emergence of a global economy, ICT. So yes, there were glorious days. My father worked in the Daily Times. I was a Daily Times child in Kakawa. But let us stop glorifying in that past. Let us see that the times have changed. Somebody once said to us that Rank Xerox taught the world about photocopying, but the world has moved on from photocopying. And if Rank Xerox does not change its business model, it will fold up. Distinguished senators, you are welcome to Lagos.
Here in Lagos to first visit those public enterprise privatized to see what they have been able to achieve, because they normally would have development program, business plan that has been approved by the Bureau for Public Enterprises. For most of the ports that we have visited, I can say that they have done well, and they have invested, but they still have to do more. They have also really introduced a lot of technology that enhances their performance, and they have also employed Nigerians, but we're expecting that they will employ more and more of Nigerians. We visited the Volkswagen of Nigeria and the Lagos International Trade Fair Complex. In the Lagos International Trade Fair Complex, there is some kind of dispute and conflict, but we intend to have all the stakeholders together in a meeting in Abuja to resolve the issues, where the concessionaire will now be in total control of the entire complex, and of course the traders will be paying the fees or the dues or rents through the concessionaire, and then he pays the government of Nigeria what is due to the government. In the Volkswagen of Nigeria, we have witnessed very shocking things that ordinarily shouldn't be there. The total idea of the privatization of Volkswagen of Nigeria to the successful co-investor there is for the investor to turn around the company into a serious and solid manufacturing company that produces vehicles. But we were shocked to see a lot of imported finished cars, Hyundai to be specific, buses, trucks and sedan cars, which is not supposed to be. We were even more shocked to see warehouses stacked with fertilizers, with vegetable oil, with rice, and so many other things. That was even a criminal thing to do, because that place is not supposed to be a warehouse. But if you go there now, it has turned into like a dry port or a container terminal of some sort, which is a breach or contravention of what that place should be used for. So, but you know, we cannot say that this is the decision we are taking until we go back and analyze the entire thing, and then we'll come up with a very good and operable recommendation for the Senate in plenary to debate.
Thank you very much, sir.
You are welcome. You are who?
Internal President, and so across and all. these people will have followed you back to London to disturb you to come and claim their salvation. And it's again the same thing. They are not serious. He said it another way, which I won't like to repeat here. What we believe that those who receive from them have some kind of existence after death. Do we believe that they are able to impact upon us in our own physical realm? What is it exactly that you believe about life after death? St. Matthew's Gospel chapter 25. The verses are read verse 15. There's a story by Jesus about the kingdom of God, the coming kingdom of God. And it's the parable of the tenants, how a master about to take a journey called 3 of the servants together. And from verse 13, you will remember that he said, he entrusted his property to them and then went on a journey. And the parable ends because the first servant had gained 5 more for us who live in between the period of his talents and resources for the spread of the gospel. We live our lives. We must walk. Matthew chapter 25 verse 14. Yes, it has been entrusted to us. His property, God's property. To us as a church, he was a fellow pilgrim on the